It was going to be a long day for the engines. The cleaners and firelighters arrived early that morning to set the engines' fires. "Your first train is with Annie and Clarabel," said Thomas. "The first train of the day has a milk wagon coupled on, bound for Elsbridge. There should be time to uncouple it and shunt it into the sidings before you have to leave." "Thomas!" called the station master as he walked to the shed. "The inspectors have just telephoned. They said that they want you to be worked as little as possible on your way to the works, so you're going to be going with Emma on the first train instead of Percy." Thomas and Emma smiled. "That would be nice. I can tell you all about the line." Once they had steam up, Emma shunted the coaches to the station while Thomas shunted the milk wagons into place. He was going to stay at the back end of the train for the first part of the journey to make the uncoupling and shunting quicker, then couple up on front once they dropped off the milk wagons. They ran down the line without incident, and once they were at the same end of the train they started talking about the line. "The line is mostly uphill going back to Farquhar. It'd be best to turn round on one of the trips to Tidmouth." When they arrived at the junction, Thomas ran into the siding while Emma ran to the water tower before coupling back onto the train. Gordon pulled into the station just as her crew swung the hose away from her tank. "Hello, you must be Emma." "The shed at the big station has been all abuzz with the rumour that you had arrived. Nice to meet you. I'm Gordon." Gordon couldn't stop for long, but he said that he hoped that they could have a good chat sometime. He whistled a friendly goodbye and set off up the line. "Well," said Thomas, "I suppose I'd better hurry up and get onto the main line or I might miss my path." Thomas had a quick drink from the tower and the siding. He then hurried himself onto the up line and waited for Gordon to clear the section. "If you need any help, just ask one of the others. They know everything there is to know about the branch line." Just then the signal dropped. "Oh, I'd better be going. See you in a few months, Emma." "Goodbye, Thomas. Don't you worry. I'll be sure to look after things here." Thomas set off and the two engines whistled goodbye to each other. He soon disappeared into the tunnel and Emma got ready to head back up the valley. The rivers had gone down quickly after the flooding and it was easy for Emma to keep to the timetable. She was used to climbing hills, so that didn't bother her. When she got back to the top station, she got ready to take a slow goods. They were nearly ready to leave when a man came running onto the platform. "Wait! Wait!" It was a workman from the Felgood brewery. "Have you got space in your train? We're supposed to be supplying some of the drinks for a wedding tomorrow at Knapford, but the courier hasn't turned up." "How long will it take you to get it here?" said the guard. "We have a timetable to keep, you know." "It's already at the loading dock. It'll be 10 minutes tops," said the worker. There was plenty of room in one of the wagons, so with help from the station staff the crates were soon loaded and Emma was able to keep her path. She hurried off, picking up and dropping off trucks on the way to the junction. On the way back she had empty trucks waiting to go to the quarry, but Toby was busy at the harbour so she decided to take them herself. She got back to the top station early and had time before her next passenger train, so rather than leave the trucks in the stonecutter's yard, she took them up the quarry line. The winding tracks reminded her of the quarry she worked in Norfolk. She was enjoying the trip so much that it took her a few moments to realise that someone was whistling at them. "Is that the guard?" asked Emma. The driver looked back. "No, it's not the guard. It's a policeman." He looked back again and the policeman, who looked quite cross, was hailing them to stop. They brought the train to a stop just before the crossing. The policeman came up and stood in front of Emma. "What do you think you're doing up here?" "We're taking these empty trucks back to the quarry." "But this is a tramway." "Yes," said Emma, "I am aware of that." By then her crew had climbed down. "Is there a problem, officer?" said the driver. "This engine shouldn't be up here," he said. "Why not?" said Emma. "I'm keeping my speed down. On our railway back home we're all allowed on the tramway." "You're not local then?" "Of course not," said the fireman. "You'd have seen us on the branch line by now." "I'm normally stationed at Tidmouth," said the officer. "I'm down here covering for someone on sick leave." "If you're not from here and you're allowed on the tramways back home, I suppose I could let you off with a warning, but you'll have to go back down the line now and leave those trucks for one of the other engines." So they headed back, left the trucks and went on with the rest of their work. "I'm sorry, Emma. We should have told you. But that law got repealed years ago. That's what my driver and the Fat Controller said. Police officer should have known that. Oh well, said Toby when they were all in the shed that evening. It's funny, said Emma. At home we're all allowed to go on the tramway as well as the trams, so long as we don't go too fast. Part of it even goes through the centre of the town. You mean there are steam trams in Norfolk? Toby gasped. Yes, we have 2 of them. They look just like you except for their paintwork, and they still have their builders' plates on them. What are their names? Tristan and Tilly. Really? Ha! They were the 2 last trams built after me. They're a real pair of characters, said Emma. I take it they never did grow up then? Oh no. They still try to play tricks on us sometimes, but we're all wise to them now, so they never get away with it, unless there's an engine visiting for a gala or something. Toby and Emma spent the evening before the last train talking about old times in East Anglia, and soon realised that they had met on a couple of occasions. The next day, Emma took a load of stone to the harbour. The trucks on the branch were quickly learning that she wasn't an engine to be messed with. She may have been an incredibly kind engine, but she certainly stood for no nonsense. She had spent the first part of her life working in a quarry, so knew how to handle bad-mannered trucks. At the harbour, she basked in the sun while the trucks were unloaded. She started talking to an old tramper named Old Rusty. He had seen better days, but was enjoying the late summer sun while he was loaded with stone. So did you get caught in the storm the other night? Oh no, said Rusty. The company's dock is a little inland on the other side of the island. The water was rough, but not nearly so bad as it would have been here. How are you finding the branch line so far? It's very nice, said Emma. The engines here are kind, and it's nice to have a change of scenery. The best thing was seeing Thomas again. The 2 went on chatting until Percy came in with another load of stone. She left with the empties and headed back for the top station. That evening the station master was waiting when Emma brought Annie and Clarabelle into the station. Emma, Percy normally takes this passenger train on Tuesdays. Oh? Why's that? She asked. In the old days, said the station master, Percy would take her goods all the way to Tidmouth, but nowadays it's far too heavy for him, so him and Thomas have swapped their last trains of the day on a Tuesday. There's usually a berth kept in the big shed overnight, then Percy will bring up the coaches with his first stone delivery. OK, said Emma. Do I go first or does he? Percy will go first, then the goods won't get in the way of the passenger service. So Emma busied herself shunting trucks until Percy had cleared the section between Farquhar and Elsbridge, then she set off. She made it to the big station in good time and got settled into the shed once her work was done. Soon the others came back from the day's work. Did any of you get asked if you wanted retrofitting back to your original designs for your centenaries? Emma asked. Edward and James looked at each other. I was built like this. I'm happy with my shape. It makes me and the other surviving member of my class unique to each other. I was asked when my last overhaul came round, said Edward, but my cab had much less cover for my crew, and before the changes the works made, I wasn't a great steamer. I'm happy with the way I am. I can see why Thomas would want to go back to his original design. That new shape was just too different. Gordon was the next to speak. I wouldn't mind changing back to a more classic A3 design, but these cylinders wouldn't fit under the running plate. It would stop my brother Scott from making fun of me for being a couple of inches shorter than him. I'm older. I'm his big brother, not his little brother. He makes fun of me every time he visits. So would you change your look? Emma asked. Gordon thought for a few moments. No, he finally said. I don't think so. This shape has served me very well. Plus I'm ever so slightly faster than Scott with these cylinders. I'd never change back to my original shape, said Henry. It was a disaster of a design. I'm so much happier and healthier as a Black 5. The engines chatted for the rest of the evening, and Emma told them about the Norfolk Coastal Railway. The next morning she headed back to the branch line. The weeks passed and Emma enjoyed her work and spending time with the other branch line engines. Her, Annie and Clarabelle had become thick as thieves in the time they'd spent together. One day the Fat Controller came to see how she was getting on. Then he caught the mainline train headed for the workstation. The work on Thomas was going very well. His new tanks were nearly ready, and his running plate and bunker had been restored to their original design. "Hello, Thomas," said the Fat Controller. "It's good to see the work on you is progressing well." "Yes, sir. But couldn't I have kept my original tanks? They are my original ones." "I'm sorry, Thomas, but the metal was too badly worn, and the accident did them no good at all. To be honest, I was surprised that the inspectors signed you off to be steamed. It was almost lucky that your accident happened when it did, what with your boiler ticket running out next year." "Yes, sir. Please, sir, how is Emma getting on?" "Oh, she's getting on splendidly, Thomas. The passengers and staff like her. Her and the coaches are getting on like a house on fire, and the trucks don't dare to play tricks on her." The Fat Controller looked at his watch. "I'm sorry, Thomas, but I must be going. I have a meeting with the other railway soon." He didn't tell Thomas what the meeting was about, but it was about the arrangements for his and Emma's centenary. Later on in the day, he was back at the junction with his daughter Emily, who was the railway's head of public relations and events. They were working together on the centenary celebration. As they walked along the platform, Emma arrived. "Good afternoon, sir. Ma'am," Emma called as she ran to the water column. "Good afternoon, Emma. We'd like to talk to you about the event we're having for you and Thomas when he comes back into service." They spoke with Emma and her crew about the initial arrangements. As Christmas drew nearer, the amount of parcels sent by train on the branch line shot up, as it did every year. The mainline engines had a good old whinge about the extra time needed to load and unload the packages, but Emma quickly quietened them. "Look, you! Any work is good work. It brings in extra revenue for the railway and helps keep you going. You don't know what it's like going through a rough stretch. For a couple of years on our line, we struggled. We couldn't afford to maintain the tracks very well, and a couple of us couldn't even be repaired." One snowy afternoon, a distinguished old gentleman came onto the platform as she brought Annie and Clarabelle into the station from the yard. "Good afternoon," he said. "Good afternoon, sir. If you've come for the train, it's not for a little while yet." "Oh, that's all right," he said. "I haven't come to catch the train. I need to ask a favour. I always hold a carol concert on Christmas Eve, and the tree that I've ordered is very late. The growers say it should be at the junction today. Could you bring it down with the next train, please?" "I can't see why not, sir," said Emma. "But aren't there pine trees all along the branch line?" "Yes, there are," he said, "but they are mostly a rare Sodor pine that isn't allowed to be cut down. This is a tree from the mainland that I've ordered especially." "Oh, I hadn't realised that, sir," said Emma. "I'll try and make sure we bring it back for you." "Thank you," said the gentleman. "I'll have my groundsman come and fetch it. Good afternoon." The man walked away, and her crew came out of the station cafe with their belly cans full of tea as he left the platform. "Do you know who that was, Emma?" "No, but he was a kind old man." "That was the Earl of Sodor," said her driver. "He lives in that house on top of the hill. He holds a carol concert every year for the church and gives any donations made to charity." "Well, that's nice. Will we be able to hear the concert?" "Percy's crew said they can usually hear it from the yard," said the fireman. They ran down to the junction and Emma looked for the tree while she waited for the porters to fill her wagons with parcels, but she couldn't see it anywhere. "James, have you seen a low loader with a Christmas tree on it?" "No, sorry, Emma. It came in yesterday, but it's been lost somewhere on the main line. They're looking for it all over the place." Emma waited as long as she could, but it still didn't turn up. "Can't we wait a little longer?" she asked the guard as he paced up and down looking at his watch. "Sorry, old girl," he said, "we can't wait any longer. We'll probably be late as it is. If we're any later, we'll miss our path." So grudgingly, Emma set off up the line. The Earl was waiting for them when they got back. He guessed that the tree wasn't on the train from the disappointed look on Emma's face. "Not to worry," he said. "It isn't the end of the world. There's plenty of time before the concert still." Emma shunted the coaches away and got ready for her slow goods train. She went to the water tower behind the sheds. Clarabelle asked her what was wrong, so Emma told her about the tree. Clarabelle hadn't heard her conversation with the Earl because she had been talking with her guard. "Don't you worry, dear. It probably just got mixed up with the other trucks in the shunting yard. It'll turn up, you'll see." Emma took her goods down the line, and sure enough, when they got to the junction, there was the tree sitting on one of the goods sidings. Before heading back, Emma asked the station master to telephone Farquhar. When they got to the top station, the Earl was waiting for them. He thanked them for bringing it and wished them a very Merry Christmas. On one of his many trips to the quarry, Toby took the tree as close to the Earl's house as he could. A few nights later, as it grew dark, the engines saw the bright lights of the decorated tree as they came into Farquhar. "I wish we could go and join in," said Emma as they pulled into the station on Christmas Eve. There were never any trains on Christmas Day on Sodor, so the engines enjoyed their rest, wishing each other a Merry Christmas and talking about the adventures they'd had in the snow. As it got dark, the shed doors were opened, and there stood the Earl, their crews and people from the village. Together they all sang Christmas carols by candlelight.